What is the creepiest thing you've seen in the woods, or in the mountains, or in deserts, or caves, or in small towns, or in remote or rural areas, or while on large bodies of water, or while on an aircraft or a nautical vessel? My girlfriend and I were hiking along some abandoned railroad tracks and we get to a small bridge going over a little creek. I'm about to go explore under the bridge when she points something out. I look over and in the woods across from us I see a guy. I'm like whatever and keep headed down to the creek area, and then the guy stands up and he's naked. We immediate backtrack pretty quickly to get away from there, and once we're like 1 minute down the trail I look back and this naked dude is just standing in the middle of the trail watching us walk away. This took place in the Australian bush around 10 or 11 at night. I was 17, leading a staggered column of about 60 cadets to our detachment campsite. Due to light discipline rules, only myself at the very front of the group and the other flight commander at the rear had torches on. This was so that any vehicles coming along the trail could see us, and so that most of the cadets could maintain their night vision. We were camouflaged up and thus difficult to see at night. As we walked along I periodically looked to my sides, and kept seeing what looked like dew drops on the ground, almost like tiny blue gems glinting in my torch light either side of the road. I had to maintain my position in the formation, so I couldn't get a good look at what they were. However, after a while we stopped for a very brief break, and I took the opportunity to have a closer look. Walking over to the side of the trail I spotted a small cluster of the diamonds and focused my head torch on them. Rather than seeing diamonds or dewdrops or anything remotely pleasant, I instead saw a group of about 5 large spiders just crouching in the leaf litter and staring at me. They looked like huntsmen's, which are about the size of an adult's hand. Sweeping my head around, I realized there were thousands of the things, all over the ground, some on the trunks of trees, and everywhere around me, glaring at the light affixed to my head. I had a very brisk walk back to the formation and attempted to play it cool while screaming in my head. Being a massive arachnophobe, I have no clue how I managed to set up a tent and spend the next week in that cursed forest. I'd been at football training with a few of my cousins when I was about 10 years old. We decided to take a walk before our parents picked us up, so we went along the canal towpath. My cousin looked down in the canal and saw a really nice jacket floating along, and being a weird scavenger person decided to reach in to fish it out. Well, the jacket turned over, and so did the man wearing it. He also had no face left. Not gonna lie, that was rough. I was walking with family when I was little and we came across a sheep's head. No body or blood, just a severed sheep's head on the path. It was the first time I noticed sheep's eyes have slit pupils, and I think my first contact with something so gruesome. My friend and I were chilling in the woods one day back in high school and see a dog walking by, later followed by this kid. He looked troubled, so we asked if he needed help. He obliged, telling us he was dog sitting for his friend and the dog got loose. So we spent a good hour following this dog and kid around, going deeper and deeper into the woods. Eventually I finally got the dog to come to me, but it wasn't wearing a collar, so I wasn't able to get a hold. My friend and I look away for just few seconds to discuss strategy, and when we turn back around, the boy and the dog are both gone. It was like they completely vanished. Keep in mind it was autumn, so any footsteps could be heard from quite afar, but it was just silent. Not a single trace of them anywhere. Still don't really know what happened. Maybe they ran away real quick. Who knows? Was definitely enough to creep us out though. I was Boy Scout, camping with my group of older buddies and an adult leader in Yellowstone. We had been backpacking for 2 days and stopped in a beautiful little clearing at the bottom of some huge tree-covered hills. The sun started to set, we made a fire, and I began to climb up into the trees to dig a hole and fill it back up. You know what I mean. As I squat there, basking in moonlight and appreciating the glow of fire among the trees, I looked up to a ridgeline a few hundred yards away where the moon was rising, and I you not, I saw a damn big cougar crest the hill and just watch our fire. It was likely no danger to me, but seeing that outline, that unmistakable shoulder crawl they do, was haunting. I watched it sit there for a good 15 minutes until I was called back by my worried buds. I pointed the cat out at them when I got done because it was still just watching us. Crazy. Walking on the beach with my boyfriend, and we had walked to a giant rocky cliff to make out. Somebody was just gazing at the ocean. crying and shaking. Mind you, this is late at night, like around 9:30 p.m. We asked him if he was okay. He apologized and practically ran back down the cliff away from the dangerous areas. My boyfriend and I watched him until he reached the public area and decided to call it a night. I'm pretty sure he was going to jump. I was a cook on board several NOAA research ships. Up in the Bering Sea, I saw what appeared to be a massive, black, triangular-shaped craft dive under the water. I viewed it from a distance of maybe 2 nautical miles. Was working in a forest in East Africa for a while. Was getting seriously dark and we were hiking back to the car. The wind was quite strong but you could still hear some ruffling in the leaves, and as I turned around, I saw something quite big in the shrubs. It was a leopard. I shrieked and some guy from the group shot into the air to scare the animal away. I am glad he didn't shoot the animal but was still glad when the animal bolted out of there. It's 2 a.m. We're in a tent in the woods in Maine. I'm about 8. Mom, there's something creeping around outside the tent. You're dreaming. Go back to bed. Mom, there really is something out there. No, there isn't. Just then, something WHAPS on the side of the tent, hard enough to shake the whole thing, and my mother, who is entirely too damn tired to deal with this, sits bolt upright and WHAPS right back in the same spot. And from outside the tent, we hear, meow. It was a house cat. We didn't hear anything more the rest of the night. I found a woman's body floating in a harbor in San Pedro, CA. Posted about this before, but back when I was a kid some friends and I came across people in robes chanting around a campfire out in the woods on the edge of the town we lived in. We were staying at a friend's house for a birthday sleepover and went for a late night walk. This was back in the late 80s during the Satanic Panic. Looking back now, I'm sure it was just some teenagers goofing around, but at the time it scared the living heck out of us. One of the girls with us had a panic attack and started hyperventilating. Got pretty serious, but we finally managed to get her calmed down. I was hiking in northern Quebec, doing some exploration work for geologists. The thing about northern Quebec is that it has forests, mountains, hills, pretty much all green, black and gray, except that in the middle of a forest we hiked through, we found this strange all-yellow patch of grass in a perfect circle, about the diameter of a medium-sized house. It was almost perfectly flat too. Caught us off guard. I saw a dude take a dump and while pooping get bit on his ass by a snake. I went to a lake to see my grandma's friend with her, and this lady found a dead body in the water. News came and there was a lot of screaming. Sounded like babies crying. It was coyotes. Creepiest thing though was when we saw a lone person just walking through the woods in the middle of nowhere. I don't know why that's creepy, but it is when you're out there. In Auburn, in 2008, it was Halloween and we googled haunted houses. I can't remember what the website was like or if there even was one, but it was like 45 minutes away. I know that it wasn't like a big attraction and we figured it was on someone's land and would be like a local deal. We drove out there at like 10 p.m. This was before iPhones and GPS, so we had MapQuest directions. We ended up going down a pretty country road for a while with no street lights. Then turned down a legit dirt road that went through the woods. Pitch black. Went down it for like 10 minutes and finally saw an old house with a sign by the driveway that was handwritten and said haunted house. No other cars or lights or people anywhere. We pulled in the driveway and sat there for a second like, alright, this is up. We should leave. All of the sudden an old pickup truck turned on about 15 feet in front of us facing us. Lights shining right in our faces. It started driving towards us down their own driveway. We backed out and peeled out. It followed us, like almost bumping our rear end, right on our tail down this pitch-black dirt road in the middle of the Alabama woods. We were flipping our It was horror movie stuff. He stayed out our tail blinding us and almost bumping us all the way back home until we got off our exit and he finally let us go. No idea who was driving. I always think what would have happened if we got out of the car when we were in that driveway. Not sure how creepy this is, but I was on a week-long camping trip with some friends and I woke up with a weasel sitting on my chest looking at me. I never knew I could scream that loud. during a YMCA camp 15 to 20 years ago. Was around 11 to 13 at the time. We were camping in tents in a forest area. Was middle of summer, so stayed light till around 10 p.m. 11 p.m. till it was fully dark. So we go on a night walk with the group and are halfway into the forest when we notice someone definitely not belonging to our group following us. Camp leaders rushed us back to camp and put us into our tents with one leader staying up to watch us. Cue halfway through the night. Wake up and have to pee like a madman. Get out of the tent to walk to the bathroom and see the leader supposed to watch us asleep in his chair by the campfire. Look around and see that the guy following us earlier has opened up and is peeking into one of the tents, while fumbling in a bag he has next to him. Screamed louder than I ever screamed in my life. Leaders wake up, jump the guy and hold him till the police arrive. Turns out he had a taser, blindfold, rope and several knives in his bag.